Hey gardeners, Enoch here with the Urban Gardener channel, and welcome to our part 2 of our summer 2022 garden tour, where we're going to talk about all the different things that we've got growing on in our different garden spaces. In part 1 of our summer garden tour, we took a look around at all of our different alleyway spaces that we have growing on around here. Lots of wonderful things to check out, and if you haven't seen that video yet, I'm going to put an iCard right up above right there for you to click on and go check out part 1 of our summer garden tour. Now, in part 2 of our summer garden tour, we're going to take a look around at our back fence line area. We've got lots of really great things growing on there. Plus, we're going to go to our carport and our back patio spaces, where we have a bunch of really neat things going on, and I'm really excited about getting down and showing you all of that. But first, before we do all of that, I want you to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and follow along with us here on the channel. And if you have any really great things growing on in your garden you want to share with us here on the Urban Gardener community, there's also a link down in the description to our Let's Get Growing Facebook gardening group. Come join us in that group. Come share all the different things that you've got growing on in your garden, because I'd love to be able to check that out myself. But for today, let's get down and check out all the different things that we've got growing on here in our gardens. So quickly here, before we get this garden tour started here, I wanted to show you our different potatoes we've got growing in containers. We've got a storage container, we've got our cardboard box, and we've got some buckets that we've got potatoes growing in this season, and they're about ready to be harvested. So keep an eye out for our next garden journal, and we'll dig into these containers and see what kind of harvest we get from our potatoes. So last we left off in part 1 of our garden tour, we were here in our back alleyway space along the back of the fence line here, and I showed you my eggplants and our compost pile, plus the rest of the space, which is being developed for fall gardening, as we just harvested our garlic a couple of weeks back. So if you haven't checked out part 1, again, I encourage you to go check that out. Here is our strawberry patch at the end of the fence here, one of many different strawberry patches that we have around our gardens. The thing about this strawberry patch, though, is it's been our most productive and actually the most delicious. Very sweet berries coming off of this plant here. It's still producing some berries in here I've been picking, but I do believe it's more of a June bearing variety. I can't remember exactly what the variety is, but we harvested a ton of strawberries off of these. I've got actually a couple bags of frozen strawberries in the freezer waiting for after the season, when we can't pick any more strawberries from our gardens. But that might be a while, because we've got lots of different strawberry plants all over the garden spaces. And behind these strawberries here in this pot, we've got one of our extra bean plants that we have. I do believe this is a Kentucky Wonder pole bean, and I thought I would see how well it grows right up here through this pallet and at the end of our fence. And along with what is now growing really well is our loofah. So when I put that there, this loofah was not doing that well. I've been trying to grow loofah over the last couple of seasons and haven't had that much luck, but I thought this would be a good space for it, and it took a while for it to get going, but now it's going. In fact, it's putting on a foot or more almost every day. It's starting to have some sucker vines come off, and it's really starting to climb up this fence. It'll probably be working its way right up the pole, along the fence, and probably even reaching out to grab hold of these utility lines holding up this pole. So we'll have to try to do our best to keep it off of that, because I'm sure the utility companies are not going to care for that at all. And here we've got 3 of our tomato plants. These are all a variety of tomato that came from a 7-pound tomato last season. And Cindy Tobeck, one of our friends, was kind enough to send me some seeds from that so we could grow for the competition. And the plants are doing really well. They're really holding up really well during this really hot heat wave we're going through right now. Temperatures have been in the 108 to 112 realm. So these plants are actually dropping a lot of flowers, but there are a couple of actual fruits that are developing. We do have this one here. It's probably the biggest we have back here. I do have one more that's actually a little bigger than this one growing off of our plant that's up in the front alleyway. But this one here is quite a bit cat-faced, and I'm just not sure exactly how well it's gonna do. But in a few days, as this heat wave wears off and it starts to cool down a little bit, these plants will start producing lots of different fruits, and we'll be able to hopefully get ourselves a really large one. Not too sure about 7 pounds, but hopefully we'll get something big. In fact, hopefully that one up in the front of the alleyway is gonna be one of our biggest, being an early one. But in these pots here, we've got along down the fence line here, each of these pots, we've got different varieties of peppers. In fact, just 2 different varieties. We're growing some super heavyweights and some big reds, all different bell type peppers, and sweet peppers, which is my goal this season, to grow more of those, which I really enjoy and use the most of, even though I really love growing pepper plants, all different varieties, even the really super hot ones that I don't eat, but just too much heat for me. But I do really enjoy growing the plants. And in between each of our different pepper plants here, we've got some different varieties of dark black tomatoes. That's kind of our theme this year, was to grow dark tomatoes. We've got a black crim, what is a Cherokee purple. This one here is a true black Brandywine. You can see and tell by the kind of potato leaves of the Brandywine tomato varieties. And we've got this one here is a black from Tula, which is a Ukrainian variety of tomato. And this one on the end is a Black Beauty, which is actually producing the most, doing really well in this heat. Let's see, we've got different fruits growing all throughout the plant, and it's even putting off more fruits there too. So this here, this Black Beauty variety, if you live in a hot area or a hot climate, really does well throughout the heat, not dropping too many of its flowers. Now down below, all of our peppers and tomatoes here on the end, we've got this squash variety growing here. Now the problem is it's either, I do believe, either a butternut or a spaghetti squash. I'm not too sure because I lost the label somewhere. I can't figure out which variety that is. We also have this one here, which is an acorn bush squash. So we do have some acorn squash growing there, and that one there doing really well, growing right up underneath of these different varieties of sunflowers. We've got a red variety of sunflower growing in the front here, and then in the back we have I believe those are a mammoth or a different large single flower variety of sunflower. But yeah, they're really starting to grow really well. And those front ones are really putting off lots of different flowers. As this red variety is a variety that has lots of different stems that produce extra flowers. So yeah, looking really, really nice here. So if you watch some of our early garden journals in late winter, early spring, you'll remember we had a couple of those greenhouses that my neighbor was kind enough to let us place and use right here in this space so that we could grow out a lot of the different plant varieties that we've got growing around the gardens. Now my neighbor, actually, her house got finished, so she's moved on, and we're awaiting a new neighbor now. So we've got everything cleaned up and put away. And in fact, also, if you remember, we had this wood container holder thing here that we've got our 5-gallon water wicking buckets and all of our different pepper varieties growing in. We've moved that over here and kind of closed off the end of our carport there with this, and I think it looks really nice there. And our peppers are really, really doing very well. In fact, we've got this variety here, which is Lesia, I believe. It's got these really nice heart-shaped pepper pods, and it's a nice sweet variety of pepper. Again, right next to it, we've got some more of those bell types. We've got this one here is called Etudia. I'll have to put that down at the bottom of the screen there for you. And yeah, another sweet variety. And next to that, we've got, which is one of our hottest pepper varieties that we were growing. In fact, we've got a couple of different plants throughout here of what is called the Primatali pepper. And we've got a couple of pods actually developing right now. As you can see, they got those nice stingers on them there. Those are going to be some awfully hot peppers. Now, I'm pretty sure out of all the different categories in that competition that we were going to take it with this one here, the pepper variety, Primatali. And then next to that, we've got another of our super heavyweights, our really large bell peppers. And they're starting to put off lots of good pods. And I think this is another one of those. No, this one here is actually the Kang Star variety of pepper. We've got that one here, which is a orange flame. And then on the other side, which we'll show in a minute, we've got a lemon starburst from Kang Star's varieties of peppers. And then I think this one here is another of the Primos. Don't see any pods off yet on that one. Now, right up above these, we'll go and look at those other ones in a moment. Just want to show you here. We put up these. I'm not sure what these were used for before, but my neighbor gave these to me. We painted them up. They've got these cool leaves on them, spiraling up, that we painted up and hung them there to put in different varieties of plants. And right now we've got an orange hat variety, which is just a small micro tomato. And it puts out these really delicious orange micro tomatoes. And there's lots and lots of really ripe ones right now we've got to pick off and harvest. And they're also producing a lot more to come after those too. So really cool little variety of tomato. And now on the other side, inside of the carport, we've got some more of that hottest variety of pepper. I don't know why, but the two that are growing on the inside here are just really putting off these really large leaves. This is the largest pepper leaf I've ever grown before. So look at that, bigger than my hand almost. Just awesome, awesome. See, another reason why I like growing peppers. All of these different varieties all grow in different ways. We got a variety here we showed that was at the front of our alleyway in the part 1 video. This is a Dos des Landes. This one here just doesn't seem to be doing as well as the other one, and it's certainly not putting off any flowers or pods at the moment. So we'll see if that starts to improve later on. And here we've got another of the super heavyweight variety, some more of those large bell peppers. Again, here's another one of those primatalis. Just again, look at how large those leaves are. Beautiful, awesome. And this one here's that other King Star variety. This one here is the Lemon Starburst. Again, looking really nice, but yet I'm not getting any fruiting or flowering at the moment. Also, could be just because of all of this really extreme heat right now that it's just not able to hold on to its flowers. And this one here is called a Testanera Chocolate. And I saved seeds from a variety I got last season, and this year the plant is really just growing really nicely. Really liking it. It is producing some flowers, but we'll see if it holds on to those and those end up forming some pods. But again, when things cool down, these pepper plants are gonna just really start producing. But yeah, looks really nice here at the end of our carport. And these here, these elevated raised beds that we put in, we've had here for a couple of seasons now, and we've grown lots of different things in there. Right now I've got some this is a Marketmore variety of cucumber, and it's really just starting to take off. It's probably just right now about ready to find this vinyl trellis here that we've got. It goes all the way up to the top. And then here as it cools down and we start going towards fall, I'll probably plant out some more peas. Right now we still got some of our cabbages, and these ones are just not growing. They're just seem like they're just little baby cabbages right now. And eventually here I'll probably pull these out as we start getting ready to plant out for fall, and we'll clear this out and again get something that's going to utilize our trellis. Here in the corner though, I've got this plant here I got from a friend of ours of the channel, Patrice from Patrice's Projects, and she brought this Gynera procubens, which is a longevity spinach. This is a good kind of spinach-like variety of plant that really grows well during the summer heat and produces these really just delicious leaves. And this will grow and start curling up through probably the corner part here and get just a little bit taller. But I grow this throughout the summer, and then as the end of the season starts cooling off, I'll take cuttings off of these and we'll save those in the house throughout the winter time, root them out, and then replant them again in the spring when it starts to warm up. And each year we've done that for the last couple of seasons, you know, since the last heirloom exposition where she brought those and gave those to me. So now welcome to my back patio garden oasis. This is one of my favorite growing spaces in all of our different gardens. I love being able to just sit here, whether it's in the early morning or in the late evening, and just listening to my water fountains flowing and just enjoy all the different things that are growing on in these spaces. Now, right here, right up front, we've got some more of our 5-gallon water wicking containers and more of our pepper varieties. Now these varieties here, we've mostly got some of our Sugar Rush Peach varieties. I've got 2 different varieties, a striped variety and a regular variety. So we've got several of those growing. There's some more back over this way too. And then we've got a bunch of different other types of plants growing, and some just trying to make it through the heat again. These flowers really got fried off of this variety of plant here too. And this here, I believe, is a mint. And back behind here in some more of our elevated beds. That's what most of these are, some elevated beds right back here. We've got these wood trellises that are towering up out of 2 different 2-foot by 2-foot elevated raised beds, and they're growing more of those Market More variety of cucumbers. And they're really starting to take off, just climbing right up those tower trellises. And over here we got some more, again, strawberries. Producing plenty of strawberries, not as good as our other patch, but we've got lots and lots of different strawberries growing in this area here. There's a couple of different containers, a couple of different wood containers there, and all down below they've got runners just taking off all over here. So in a video coming up here real soon, I'm going to show you a propagation method that I use in order to produce more strawberry plants. And that's why we've got so many plants all over our gardens, is because we keep taking new plants from each of our varieties and spreading them around in our different spaces. And back here, and I'm not sure how well these will ultimately do. These were some varieties of kohlrabi that I grew from seed. And just another one of those plants where, you know, you're not too sure how well they're going to do, and then they just start taking off. So we'll see if we get a couple of really good, nice kohlrabi bulbs off of these plants here. And right behind them, actually, we've got some bush variety of beans growing in our containers. So just before this, or out of the spring, we were growing a bunch of different varieties of greens. Those greens were done as they started going to seed. We've got a couple of varieties here that we're just letting grow seed from, and we'll try to save some seed. But once we pulled all of the others out and harvested them, we planted out some of these bush beans. And right here, I'm going to show you this here too, right in this big container. Here's another one of our container fruit trees, a variety of apple that we've got up on this plant stand. And actually, it produced a lot of flowers, a lot of different fruits actually, but they started dropping. We ended up losing many different apples off of this tree. And we did get one survivor though. It's a nice sized apple too, so hopefully that'll stick on there and get ripe here soon. We'll be able to enjoy an apple off of that one. And if you see right off here too, another large container. We've kind of got elevated here because we're in a back patio area. We've got these 2 roofs here that kind of provide a little bit of shade if these were down lower, so we put them up so they can be up, the canopies can be up there and get as much sun as possible. And this one here is producing a lot of different apples, so many that in fact I don't know how all of them are actually going to do, because I probably should have pruned off some of those smaller ones here, but we'll just see what happens this season. And if it does the same thing this next season and produces so many flowers and so many fruits, I will prune them back so that we can give those other bigger, larger ones a better chance to grow even bigger. Now right below this, on this arch trellis here, we've got a Scarlet Runner variety of beans. In fact, it's starting to produce some flowers. So we should be seeing some beans forming here really soon. But these vines are really growing nicely right up along the trellis. Arches right to our fence there. Got some more strawberries and some calendula and fern and different things growing back there. And right in front of those Scarlet Runner beans, we've got some more bush style beans. This is a Romano bush bean. And these plants are actually starting to really get some size and strength and should really be bushing out real soon and producing lots and lots of beans here in the next coming weeks. And right behind this elevated bed here, actually let me show you this real quick. This was one of our newer elevated beds. This one's a nice deep bed too. And more of our 5-gallon water wicking buckets. And in these buckets we've got growing on each side of the middle one there, we've got lemon cucumbers. I love lemon cucumbers, and I can't wait for this plant to really start producing like my neighbor's lemon cucumbers that he's got in his garden across the alleyway that you can check out in part 1 of our tour if you haven't seen that. And right in the middle here, we've got a variety of cantaloupe that's growing and actually doing really well. Just climbing right up this trellis. And soon, hopefully, we'll have some fruits here to show everybody. But plants are doing really well and climbing nicely. And right next to those, we have this other kind of tiered, elevated, raised bed that we have here. It's really deep. And because it's so deep, this is a bed I like to grow my carrots in. So this is pretty much our carrot bed. And we just harvested a bunch of different carrots. We had some different colored carrots, and then some little fingers and some Parisian variety of carrots that we grew. And we got lots of good, delicious carrots out of that harvest. And we'll be getting this ready here as it cools down here in just another week or two. And we'll start growing some more carrot seed for our fall garden coming up. So that's what we'll do with that. And back here real quick, just show you this here. Show you our coleus. It's looking really, really nice. It's actually several different plants, different varieties of coleus that we got in one of those packets where they've got the mixed seeds. So we got all these different varieties and we planted them together. And they're all just growing really, really nicely. It looks really awesome. Really likes this space in the garden. Gets a little bit of light through the day, but mostly some good shade. And so that plant's bushing out really nicely. Now across from our tiered carrot bed here, and next to one of our other elevated beds here that's got the bush beans and the kohlrabi in it, we've got a row of our 5-gallon wicking buckets with some different varieties of peppers growing here. And this variety here, I believe, is that Big Red, another of the large bell pepper varieties that we've got growing on the back fence. And also next to that, again, one of those super heavyweights, putting off some more large bells for us. Not seeing any. Oh, there's some little ones actually back in the back there that are forming back there. A little one there too. So it's starting to produce. And right next to this one too, I really love this plant. I like the pepper plants that have got the really good colors, the reds and purples. Oh, and you can see here, look, flowers falling off because of the heat. They just dry up and start falling off of the plant. But we do got a lot of production. This is a purple serrano, and it's going to produce just really, really, really well. So no need to worry about it dropping flowers for this time of the season. And next to that, we've got a variety here. This one, I believe, is a golden cayenne. So yeah, it's gonna produce these nice long pods. Turn a nice golden color here in a little bit. And then we've got, this variety is called a tequila sunrise. And these ones here, although it's a little heavy, they're producing some really nice sized pods, so it's kind of flopping over with the weight, but they grow in an upward fashion here. Yeah, really delicious variety of pepper there, not too hot at all. And these ones here, which are a bit hot, love this plant. Nancy, one of our viewers, has been watching our channel since the very beginning. She sent me out some seeds for a Chinese 5-color, and another variety that grows in that upward fashion and starts off as this purple color here, and then we'll lighten up and start to turn a little more of a cream than yellow color, and then they'll start to get orange, and then after they get to that orange stage, they'll start to get and turn red in their final stage. So yeah, you get a nice variety of different colors, and in the garden it kind of looks like a Christmas tree with Christmas lights. Love this plant, Nancy. Thank you so much for sending that out to us. Now, in some more of our 5-gallon wicking buckets, we've got this plant here, first year trying and growing okra. And I am really, really impressed with this plant. As you can see, look at it, it's just producing a ton of fruits. It's growing really, really well out of our 5-gallon wicking buckets with these big, giant leaves. It's just producing more and more and more, even throughout this heat. So it is definitely a heat-loving variety of plant. As you can see here, check out this flower. Now I'll put a little picture here so you can see what it looks like when it's all opened up early in the day. And kind of similar to squash plants, it seems in the later part of the day, it curls back up. But it doesn't seem to have any problem pollinating and producing a bunch of fruit. So yeah, really, really impressed with this okra here. Doing quite a bit better in this space than the one we've got in our alleyway space that was in part 1. But even the one in the alleyway is still producing a bunch of nice fruit. Now down below here is another variety of pepper. This one here, just like those others down here, are a variety of our Sugar Rush peach. Now these ones are really producing, actually, and we're getting lots of pods on these, lots of new pods forming. Yeah, really, really good, productive plant coming out of another one of our 5-gallon wicking buckets. And here in the bucket right next to it, you can see we've got this eggplant, and these eggplant fruits are starting to get nice size. They're really expanding every day. And another heat-loving variety of plant that is producing just fine throughout all of the heat. Yeah. We got already a good 5 different fruits on this plant here. So yeah, it's doing really, really well. Got a new flower right here. So yeah, and another eggplant variety here. Looks like it dropped a flower, actually. Another one dried up and dropped off. But it's forming new fruits all over the plant and down in the lower part of the plant. As you can see here, it's a nice white variety called Casper. And the other variety is actually called a Black Beauty. You can see we've got some nice fruits there on that plant. It's growing really well. Let's see, maybe fruit down there. But yeah, really impressed with the eggplants as well. All of everything doing great in these 5-gallon containers. And some more of those Sugar Rush Peach. They were one of my better plants, and I had a bunch of extras, so I just ended up putting in some of these extra pots just to see how well they do. And they're looking pretty nice. But not really producing any pods on these ones here either. And here's another look at the other side of our towers with those Marketmore cucumbers growing. You gotta be careful too, it's starting to put out a lot of sucker vines, so we'll have to make sure we get those pinned up to the towers there so they don't get too wild out here. And just across the way, we have this bean trellis, which we grew a bunch of peas. We had a bunch of snow peas we grew here and harvested a lot of those out a few weeks ago. And we'll be getting this space ready here to be planted out again for probably some more peas for our fall garden. And right next to that, this is basically a volunteer garden. And I have these Prax cherry tomatoes that grow out of this space each year. And that's because I let these plants grow and produce. And they produce a ton of delicious cherry tomatoes, one of my favorite tomato varieties. And I got this from Ray over at Praxis 55712. It's no longer producing videos, unfortunately, but we were able to get some of these delicious variety of tomatoes from him and have been growing these for several years now. Like I said, I let these grow, and then when they produce some really nice fruits on the plant, I let some of those stay on the plant until they completely ripen and fall off the plant. And then when they get incorporated into the soil at the end of the season, and then by next season, when the temperatures warm up, we get a bunch of different volunteers. And then we select out of the volunteers some pretty equally spaced plants and start the process all over again. So here at the front entrance of our patio garden here, as the walkway comes around the corner, we've got our rain barrel, rain catchment system. And we catch our rain off of that into these 2 barrels here and utilize as much rainwater as we possibly can in a lot of our different containers that we have around the garden. As you can see here, we got another one of those orange hat varieties of tomato, producing these really nice orange cherry tomatoes. And look at all of these, look at all these new ones that are forming on there too. I'm gonna harvest all these other ones off. And then I want to show you this here. This is a tree that I started from just a small piece like so, that I took off of a tree that was growing off of a trail near a friend's house. I just thought I would experiment with that and see how well that would do. I took the piece and I just put it in a small container of sand, and I kept that wet, and over a few weeks it started rooting, and then we potted it up into a pot, and that was about 7 or 8 years ago. And yeah, you never know what you happen when you experiment and try some things out in the garden. You could have yourself a nice beautiful tree like this growing out of a pot that you grew yourself. So coming around out of our front entrance of the back patio space, we've got our side patio carport garden space here along the other side of that fence. And here in these 2 bucket containers, which actually have holes drilled around the bottom there so roots can tap into the ground beneath. But we've got a, what is it? Dad Sunset and an orange Kentucky variety. And They're growing really nicely, but again, I'm waiting for some fruit to come off of this one here. And this one's been trying to form more fruits, but does have this one really nice one down at the bottom. So we get to look forward to that one here real soon, as it'll probably be ripening up here in the next couple of weeks. And down next to it, we've got this, which was actually growing all over here. If you remember seeing in some of our early videos, or even on our Instagram too, if you check that out, I put a lot of pictures up of things around the garden. I was showing some of this lamb's tail or lamb's ear, which is just this really cool, kind of like related to the mint type family. So it spreads and grows along the ground like it, but it's a really soft leaves. Really love this plant, but it really spreads out. So it's one of those ones you've really got to kind of keep under control. I usually let it spread out a bit, and then towards this time of season, as these other plants are trying to take up more space, I cut it back to just a couple of little plants, and then next season I'll have to cut it back again. So we just kind of start all over. But we do need to open up this space for this here, which is, I don't know if I remember showing you in the last video, we were talking about the leaf shape of plants. And cucumber varieties kind of have a nice pointed leaf, and some of the melon varieties have a nice rounded leaf. This one here's kind of got a mix of between. It's kind of rounded and pointed at the same time. But this is a Armenian yard-long cucumber, which is actually a melon. So it kind of makes sense that those leaf shapes are like that. But it is really starting to spread out. And again, we just kind of try to keep it trailing along inside of the garden bed space there. And we'll just kind of work it along and around here and around the buckets, probably back through itself again. But yeah, it should be producing some fruits here real soon. There could be some down here too I haven't seen quite yet, but tons and tons of flowers. We should be seeing some pretty soon. And these are growing around a few different corn plants that we have. We've got maybe what it looks like, maybe about 6 or 7. They're doing pretty well and growing pretty tall. And then we've got several kind of in the back, along the back side there, that aren't growing as well. But hopefully maybe we'll get a few ears of corn out of it anyways. We did kind of get those in just a little bit later than I wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much our space here. Actually, I'll show you. Last video we talked about our herb garden, and over here we've got some more oregano. And like I said, I like to let these things flower because the bees just love it. And it's so cool to kind of hang out here. I got this little bench and all that, and just sit here and watch these bees go to work on this oregano. But they love it. So I harvest what I can early in the season. We cut it back, and in the fall it'll grow back a bit more, and we'll harvest some more then. But during this time of year, I grow these for the bees. So all right, one last thing I'll show you here next to this other coleus that we've got growing over here. Got this little patch that's in between the 2 different carports. And each season I grow out 3 poblano plants. These are our Tres Amigos Poblanos. And this year they're not looking too well. And if you followed our channel before, you've seen that these plants are usually by this time of year huge and producing a bunch of different pods. But yeah, we've got a couple of them growing on this one in the front, and the other plants aren't doing as well. I don't know, it might be some of the mix or some of the things that we've got in this area here, or other factors with the plants themselves. I'm just not too sure. But usually we've got some really nice poblano plants growing. And then I've got this trellis here with this flower variety. I believe it's called Cardinal Climber. I mean, which is really evident. Look at it. I mean, it's climbing and climbing. Similar to like I grew a Morning Glory here a couple seasons back, and it just grew and took over and was hanging, and vines were just going all over the place. And I'm kind of getting a similar feeling about this one. So we'll just have to keep checking in on it later through the season and see how well it takes up this space, because it's really seeming to like it right now. But yeah, that's pretty much all of our different growing spaces throughout our different parts of the garden, along our alleyways, carport and back patio. We've got our back fence there, and a bit right back this way too. So we're really fortunate to have a bunch of really cool, unique garden spaces to be able to grow a lot of different food for ourselves. And I'm really glad that all of you have come along to join with me here on our channel and to check out how we put together all of these different unique spaces. So again, if you follow along with me now and you're at this point of the video, get down below there and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can see how and all of this stuff continues growing throughout the season and what we change into in some of these spaces as we move towards our fall gardening. We'll see all of you on our next video. Before we get this started here, George, I know, I was just talking to do the video. Yeah. You just want to be on camera again, huh? You love it when I'm shooting videos, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're such a star, George. You are a star. Really kind of getting impressed with this loofah lately, and ay, any day now. Someone pulled the battery. Well, I don't know. That's just too much.